started crocheting with a Woobles kit, and now I just designed my very first pattern. Whoa. Today I'm sharing how that happened, what surprised me the most, and if you stick around to the end, I'm going to be showing you my next pattern that I just designed and I'm super excited about. And in case we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Nikki. I am a new crochet artist and I started crocheting about 6 months ago. So we're going to go back to July 2025, which was not that long ago. I know it's just turned February. So what is that? Help me do math. So it's been about 7 months since I first picked up a Woobles kit. And what I remember from that Woobles kit is not really having any idea what I was doing, but I've heard really good reviews about using a Woobles kit to just kind of learn all the basics. And that's exactly what I did. I actually learned while my kids were taking swimming lessons. I brought the kit with me. I had my phone, so I had all the videos on there. And I learned literally while I was watching my kids do some swim lessons. So I am going to show you my very first Woobles. I've been honestly a little bit embarrassed to show her off just because, you know, you look at something you make and it was your first try and you just see everything wrong with it. So here she is. So this is Anna, the sunflower. Why did I pick a sunflower with all these details? I have no idea. So if you're a beginner, don't start with Anna, start with something way simpler. But I just went for it because I really like flowers. I really like plants. So I was like, oh yeah, let me try that one. So yeah, Anna is quite crooked. Her stuffing's not all there. She's got a permanent like neck lean going on. But you know, we all start somewhere. So as much as I want to throw her in the garbage and never see her again, I also keep her around. I don't display her, but I do keep her just as a reminder of where I started. And I think that's so important to see where crocheters start versus like where they are now. You really have no idea when you see most crochet artists how long they've been crocheting. They could have learned when they were a kid. I wish I would have, but I didn't. I only learned last summer. So, and this is where I started, and I'm okay with it. It is a little hard to look at her just because I'm trying to fight a little bit of the perfectionist in me. But I also recognize that, hey, we all start somewhere and it's okay. She's okay. She really did help me though, kind of start that passion and that desire to even want to crochet. I don't know about you, but I've been hearing that crochet has really been just gaining more popularity. And some people say, oh my gosh, I'm trying to crochet because all my friends are crocheting and it's so hard. So my question to be, well, what are you starting with? Because you might be starting with a project that is way too long, way too big. You're not starting with something that's quick and easy to do. So then I can see how it would get frustrating. So if I would have just been frustrated with how Anna turned out and just thought, I can't do this, she doesn't look good, then I probably would have just given up at that one Woobles kit and called it a day. But there was just something about it that I really enjoyed. And I am someone who I like to try something and then the next time I like to get just a little bit better at it. So that's been the case too with learning how to pattern design. I feel like starting off, I have to give myself a lot of grace because it's not going to be perfect as much as I want it to be. And just know that it's okay. Your first designs aren't going to be your best, but it's more about learning the process of going through designing and having pattern testers and doing all those things. It's the same thing with when I started to crochet, that those first couple projects aren't probably going to be that great, but it's necessary to learn from. So just for reference, after that first Woobles kit, I had bought 2 Woobles kit. I started with Anna, which wasn't a good idea, but my second one was Clint. And Clint really did it for me, you guys. Clint like unlocked something in me where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. He looks proportionate. I did find success with Clint, and that really got the ball rolling for me of, oh my gosh, okay, I have a win. I did it, and I want to do more. So I am really thankful that I did start with the Woobles Kit. I really enjoyed those small short videos. I got my daughter one for Christmas. I think I've mentioned that in a previous video. She is still working on it. We're not quite there. I'm trying to encourage without being pushy. You might think to yourself, as far as pattern designing, well, I can't do that. Maybe, okay, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe we can do it. We just haven't tried and we haven't gone through that process of learning, right? Like before we picked up crochet, we weren't sure if we could do that either. So I think that's something I'm trying to remind myself as I start to try to design is just that it's okay to go slow. It's okay to not know everything. And everyone starts somewhere, and we just have to remember that. Some things I've been using to kind of help me get started with designing is taking the Amigurumi Toys design course. I signed up for that, and that is just a PDF document of her whole process, which has been helpful. And I also got a book. The book is called Crochet Your Way to a Buyer's Heart with Amigurumi. And both of those resources have been really helpful to get started. However, you still need to come up with your own ideas. They're not going to tell you the ideas. You still have to take the time to come up with the ideas and really have that desire to get started. And then also really have a background knowledge of how do I actually create different limbs? How do I create an increase? And what does that do to the pattern? So I think that's probably been the most tricky part for me, just because I am a newer crocheter, is just really understanding what to do when as I'm designing. I've been very into cottagecore lately. I just love, I don't know, I love birds. I love like anything mushrooms. I love forests. I do live in Wisconsin, so I grew up going up north to the lakes, and loons are just have been my best seller on Etsy for a good reason, because I love them so much, and it is just something that is inspiring to me. So I'm kind of keeping along the lines of cottagecore-ish when I design. At least that's where I'm starting. So I have an app. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Procreate, and that is where I've been doing all of my doodling. So if I do have an idea that I really want to get down, I will just doodle in Procreate, and it's just easy. It's right there and it saves it. So I did have an idea for my first pattern to make a snail, and I kind of wanted to make it like something unique and different, not just what's already out there. In the course I'm taking and also the book, they kind of talk about how looking at actual crochet patterns is a really bad place to start. So I've been very conscious not to go on Etsy and look up snail crochet patterns, but rather look at pictures of snails, whether it's real snails or drawings, to try to get some inspiration from that and then see what I can do. So here is my doodle of my first crochet pattern. I was going to go with the name Clover. I did change it to Fern now that she is done. But I had an idea of trying to create like almost like a dish for her shell and to make her shell interchangeable. So I was kind of going through some different ideas. I really like big eyes in plushies. And I was just trying to work through, okay, how could I make my snail a little bit unique and different? I also had the idea to create a shell that could open, and then there would be like little mushrooms or something on the inside. I didn't run with that idea, but I did go with my removable shell idea. So I want to introduce you to my first pattern that I designed, and here she is. So this is Fern, and she is the very first pattern I designed. So I'm really proud of her. It did take me quite a while to just go through the process of crocheting and trying to get the thoughts in my head to actually work out with yarn. I went through a different yarn types as well. I made her in Parfait Plush, but blanket yarn ended up being my favorite. So I love that idea of trying to combine yarn. So while she does have a tie here for a decorative piece, it's also functional because it holds her head up. So her shell is removable. So if I pull off her tie here and pull that out, then this shell comes out. And if I make another shell, I can just put a new shell in here and thread a needle to put her head back up. It's a little bit floppy without the tie. I also had in the pattern that you can attach it with yarn and just make it not removable too. So some options, but I'm very proud of designing Fern, and I am about to release her for the first time. So that's been exciting. So the next part in the process of designing is to actually put your pattern out in front of people and have them test it. I know that's an important part and it's necessary. However, it felt so vulnerable to like put your work out there and then have someone not necessarily critique it, but like look for errors because again, I have like this perfectionist tendencies and I just want it to be perfect and I know it's not. So this is actually a really good learning experience for me. But I did put it out to about 4 different pattern testers. Seeing Fern come back in some photos is just like the best feeling. I love when people take photos of the plushies that I make and how much they enjoy them. And it was just so cool to see photos of the plushie that I designed. They did find some errors, but I am now feeling much better with knowing that it's okay, it's not perfect, it's necessary to get me to the place that I can put it out. And I just have to remind myself that the whole reason we have pattern testers is so that we can catch our mistakes before we actually put it out to the world. So pattern testing went well. I had a little bit of trouble finding some people. So I'm hoping next time I put a pattern out, I will have some more testers volunteer, but I did end up finding some people. So that was great. I think something else that is tricky about designing patterns is we might know what we are doing and it makes sense in our head. Then we put it down on paper and have someone else test it. It might not make sense. So I have to always kind of reel it in and think, okay, what is the best way to say this in instructions? I am very much a visual person, so I have been trying to make little short videos that go along with the pattern. I really appreciate when people include those in their patterns. So I've been trying to make a couple short videos, and I think that'll be helpful in the long run as I create more patterns. So after going through this first pattern, I have learned some things. And one of the biggest things that I have learned is that I really enjoy patterns that are simple to make, but don't look simple when it's the finished product. So it might look like, oh my gosh, that must have taken forever to make and it looks so complicated. But as the crocheter, we know that it's actually pretty simple to make. So some of my favorite stitches are like a bobble stitch. I like increasing in the front loops. I don't know why, I just do. So those are things that I want to be including in my crochet designs, are just like stitches that I really love, that I find are simple and can really add some texture to a pattern or just make it a little bit more unique. Okay, for sticking around this long, you get to see my next pattern that I just designed. And I do have 2 different versions of this pattern. And again, I'm going to kind of walk you through my thoughts and how I went about designing this. So I like to look for inspiration photos on Google. So if I have an idea or if I'm just like looking for an idea, I've been using like Google and Pinterest just to look at some drawings. Again, I'm staying away from actual crochet patterns because I don't want to be like copying anything. I want to get inspiration from somewhere else. So I did see a picture of a frog on a mushroom with wings. And once I saw that, I went ahead and did a little doodle. So I knew I wanted something along the lines of a frog sitting on a mushroom with wings, maybe a wand. It had a wand in the picture. But I'm just kind of like, as I'm sketching out, I'm thinking, okay, like what can I make bobble stitches? Because I love bobble stitches. What could I do for like color changes? And then can I make it low sew? Can I go from one part to the next part without having to sew anything on? So this was my inspiration. And then I came up with a couple different variations. The first one was actually pretty close. I decided at first not to go with the wings just to make it a little bit more simple. And here she is. I love her. She's so cute. So first of all, I used plush yarn for my toadstool froggy. And with Fern, I didn't. And I think I went with blanket yarn for Fern because it gave more structure, but I just love Parfait plush yarn. It is my absolute favorite by far. It just happened to come out at the exact time that I started crocheting, so I think it was just meant to be a little bit, and it's just my favorite. So I've kind of gone through a couple different versions. I'm calling this my Toadstool Froggy pattern, but it is almost, it's one continuous piece except for the flower at the top. So you could make it without the flower, which would also be very cute. But yeah, I got rid of the wings at first because I just felt like it added a little bit too much, and I wanted to make this one a little bit more simple. So I had to change some things as I went through, made some different versions. I started with only 2 feet. I thought it looked kind of funny, so I added 4 feet to it. I made the bobble stitches a little bit smaller and then played around with making the flower at the top. And I'm so excited for her. I think she's so cute. She's very me, which I still have to figure out what me is. But for now, this is very me. So I am excited to put her out and be looking for some pattern testers soon. I still have to put out Fern first, and then I'll be going to my Toadstool Froggy pattern. So I did make her in Parfait Plush. I did make a version with wings yesterday. And here she is. So this is what I was originally thinking. And I don't know, you guys let me know what you prefer. Like, what do you think as someone who crochets would be? I don't know. I like both. This one is a little top heavy. Like if you put her down, she falls backwards, so I might have to stuff her a little bit more. I did try making this one with blanket yarn, and I used demi pearl for the wings, which I am happy with how it turned out. I just really like this one better, so I think this is the one I'm going to go ahead and release, but I thought maybe in the future I could also release a wing version as like a modification or just add it to the pattern. But I'm really happy with both of them. I think from starting with Fern that I've made some really good progress already, and I'm kind of figuring out like what I like to crochet, what I like to design. It's still a process. I am not there. I am still learning, and I have a lot to learn as I go. But I really am enjoying just kind of finding some inspiration in different places and yeah, seeing what I can come up with, because I think sometimes we limit ourselves. My daughter does this all the time, thinking like, well, I can't do that. I'm just not even going to try. Okay, maybe, but maybe not. We have to remind ourselves, maybe not. Maybe you can't do it, but maybe you can, and you won't know until you really give it a try and a chance. So that is where I'm at. I am not pushing myself to put out a pattern all the time or one a month or anything like that. I'm just going to go with my gut on this one, my intuition. Like if I get excited and I have an idea, I'm going to put it down. I'm going to see what I can do to crochet it, but I'm not going to put any pressure on myself to try to do so many designs this year or anything like that. So I think there's a freeness that comes with that, not having any pressure to design so many patterns. And I also think when there's no pressure, it opens up our creativity a lot, and that is what I thrive on. So I'm so excited to see what I make or what I don't make. Maybe this is the last one for the year. I don't know, but I'm not going to put any kind of time pressure on myself or anything like that. So I hope this was helpful to kind of go along as I have designed my first and second patterns. And I just want you to know that if you are new to this as well, that don't count yourself out. You can do things. I can do it. You can do it. And we can do it together. So Okay, you guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in my next video. If you haven't yet and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Bye.